Okay, so in the new Grow Garden update, we got a ton of new pets with all of them being pretty OP. So I'm gonna go over exactly how you can abuse every single one of these pets to get tons of items and make your life in Grow Garden so much easier. As well as I'll be showing you how you can use a little bug to get 2 to 3 times more rewards from one of these pets. That being said, if you enjoyed this video, find it useful, just one step to learn all the best leaks, tips, tricks, and methods for Grow Garden, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This video is a bit more informative. Sit back, relax, and let me show you exactly how insane these pets are. All right, so obviously we have the new fall market update. Very, very simple update, but actually really cool in my opinion. I've been grinding it a ton. You can see I already have 241 fall blooms. But if I'm being honest, not all of it was done manually. I did finally find a way for me to macro this event. It did require quite a bit of setup in my garden. You can see I have a bunch of different fruit types organized, and coconuts are really, really good. They cover like 3 categories. So I did have to create this little ramp here that I can actually walk up and collect my coconuts. And using this garden setup with event lanterns and a macro program like Tiny Task, I was able to create a macro that would walk up to every single plant, collect it, try to submit it to the tree, and then sell my inventory and do it over again. And then at the very end, it would go ahead and buy stuff from the shops, which actually worked. And now I'm able to AFK quite a bit of fall blooms. Eventually the shops do become very laggy and you have to rejoin, but it's been incredibly useful. So if you want me to make a video on this, let me know. The issue is it does only work for PC players. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of setup that is involved. However, once you get it working, it's very, very useful. So if you want me to make a video on it, let me know. But I tend to not like making macro videos just because it's really hard to cover every single issue that you may encounter. But that's just generally how I was able to get the macro working for those who already have Tiny Task and are looking for a good macro loop. Anyways, because I was able to AFK this event, I was able to get a ton of the new pets, test them out, and I realized just how OP they are. And these are actually way more useful than you may expect. So let's talk about these pets, and I'll show you just how you can abuse them to earn tons of stuff and make your life in Grow Garden way easier. Now, the first pet I want to talk about is the Woodpecker. This one I'm talking about first because there's not really too much interesting with it. It is pretty useful if you do want to duplicate wooden plants, just because it does give a 6% chance to duplicate wooden type fruit for 30 seconds per woodpecker you use. So if you time that perfectly, you could get almost a 100% chance to duplicate wooden plants. And I think the maple resin does count as a wooden type plant, so that could help, especially when it comes to completing the crop mastery for the maple resin. But truly, there isn't much use for the woodpecker. That's why I want to get it out of the way first. However, let's get into the more insane pets in this update. Let's talk about the salmon. Admittedly, this is probably my favorite pet out of the bunch just because it's been incredibly useful for me. Keep in mind, I'm someone who's been playing for months, and this pet has completely changed my Grow a Garden game. Now, if you didn't already know, the salmon has the ability to give 4.33 XP per second to each salmon on your garden. Now, to put this into perspective, the capybara only gives around 3 XP per second, and only when a pet is within 15 studs. Emoji Mouse only gives like 1 XP per second, and all the owls only give like 1 XP per second. So this is by far the best leveling pet in the game. However, the only caveat, and pretty important caveat, is that it only works on salmons. Now, this might completely turn you away from the salmon. However, a full team of salmon on your garden will earn yourself over 100 XP per second per salmon, as long as you're using medium and small treats, which are not hard to get, which means you can get a salmon from level 1 to 20 in only 7 minutes and easily get yourself a level 75 salmon or above within like 6 or 7 hours, meaning you can play the fall event, get yourself a ton of salmon, which actually come into stock pretty often, place them down in your garden and get a ton of level 75 pets within around a quarter of a day, which is the fastest by far that you'll ever get a level 75 pet or above, which you can then use for upgrades. Now, before the salmon came out, I struggled and never even had my extra egg slots or extra pet inventory slots maxed out because getting a level 75 pet that you are willing to sacrifice is incredibly annoying to do and time consuming to do. But just from AFKing over one night, I managed to get myself 8 level 80 salmon, which I was able to sacrifice for all these upgrade slots and finally complete all these upgrade slots. So with this pet currently being such an easy thing to obtain and super OP for getting levels, you literally have no excuse to not have all of your upgrade slots done. So I know for some players it might not be too useful, but for a lot of players, even me, this pet was a game changer and permanently changed my Grow a Garden game. I'm now able to finally hatch a ton more eggs, equip a ton more pets, and hold a ton more pets in my inventory. Now, when the Mochi Best came out and it was gaining like half the XP that the Salmon is gaining now, they still went ahead and nerfed it. So I think there's a pretty high chance that the Salmon could be nerfed just because it is incredibly easy for any brand new player to now max out all of their upgrades within the first like 8 hours of them playing, and incredibly easy for anyone to max out all the upgrade slots on all of their alt accounts using this pet. So take advantage of this as fast as possible before it is pretty much inevitably going to be nerfed. Now, the next pet I want to talk about is actually one you probably don't expect me to talk about yet, but it is going to be the red panda, the rarest pet in the fall pet shop. However, it has a pretty insane ability where every 11 minutes it'll go to the gear shop, seed shop, pet shop, and restock one random stock. Rare items have a rarer chance of being restocked. This pet is pretty self-explanatory. It actually restocks some pretty decent stuff most of the time, including mythical and divine seeds, and it's just a really good pet to have on your team if you are trying to get some of these shop items, especially if you're able to get a full team of them like I am currently trying to do. Here we go. I just got a rare egg from the pet shop and an uncommon egg from the pet egg shop. So honestly, this pet is just kind of an insane pet overall, but there's nothing too special about it. Just use a full team of these. It will definitely hold a ton of value once this event is over, so try to get your hands on as many of them as you can, and then if you are able to get a full team of them, you're going to be able to restock a ton of rare items. I even had a godly sprinkler restock not too long ago, so I know they can restock some really good things. Now let's talk about a pet that seems to have a bug, which allows you to get a lot more out of it than you should be able to. And this pet is, of course, the Mallard. Now, if you didn't already know, this pet has a pretty simple mechanic, but it is very interesting. Basically, every half hour in the day, it'll leave you with a random reward before returning to your inventory. Now, this is actually pretty interesting, and the rewards tend to be a ton of the new fall harvest gears, including a lot of maple syrup, sometimes bonfires, and sometimes even rarer items. And this pet does look a little interesting. I think the Grow Garden devs decided to just ignore making animations for it. You can see it literally just glides across the floor, and as you'll see in the sky in a minute here, it just glides in the sky without really flapping its wings. I think this kind of just shows how lazy Grow Garden's getting, which I'll talk about towards the end of the video. But you would think that as long as you have a Mallard placed down on your garden, as soon as the clock hits every half hour, the Mallards will leave, you'll get a reward, and that'll be it. But you would be wrong. Now it's about to turn 8 o'clock, so I have all my Mallards down, but I'll show you exactly what I mean here. Okay, here we go. The Mallards are starting to fly and go north. And there we go. We're getting a ton of maple syrup, a ton of items, but believe it or not, you can go ahead and place these Mallards down again and watch what happens. Every Mallard is taking off for the south again. So as long as the clock does not hit 8:01 or 8:31, depending on what time you're doing this, you can keep placing down your Mallards over and over again, and they'll keep flying to the south and keep giving you items. So instead of only getting one batch of items from the Mallards, you can get 2 and maybe even 3 per Mallard, which is kind of insane. And there we go. We got even more maple syrups. Now, unfortunately, it's 8:01, so we can't place them down anymore. But yeah, every 30 minutes, you can go ahead and use these Mallards to get a ton of the new fall items. I've got bonfires. I've got maple sprinklers from this before. You can get a ton of different items, and you can use that little bug to get more than one set of items from each Mallard, which I definitely don't think was intended to be in the game. So it's a pretty interesting pet. I would definitely recommend you abuse this before it possibly gets patched. Get a ton of those fall gears now, and just hold on to these pets for when the fall event goes away, so you can still get those fall gears once this event is over. But it's definitely a very useful pet to have. Now, I do want to give an honorable shout out to a few other pets that you should definitely keep your eyes on and go for before this event is over. Specifically the space squirrel. It's going to hold quite a bit of value once this event is over. It's somewhat rare to get. I've only gotten 4 within 250 blooms, but it is definitely doable to get, and it gives you the void touch mutation, which is a pretty good mutation. But most importantly, farm this fall bloom event to get a ton of those fall eggs so you could hopefully hatch yourself some of these barn owls. Each one of these farm owls are actually pretty insane. They give up to like 0.3 extra kg to the base weight of any pet bought within a shop. As you can see here, with the help of those salmons from earlier, I'm now able to hatch 9 eggs at a time, so hopefully I can hatch more before this event is over. And I have farmed myself up a pretty good amount of fall eggs, so I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. But if you do end up getting a full team of barn owls, you can get up to a max of 3 extra kg added onto every pet, meaning you can instantly buy any of the pets from the shop as a huge variant. That means a huge red panda, a huge mallard, a huge space squirrel. Literally any of these will be huge with a full team of barn owls. So that's just another pet you should keep your eye out for and farm this event to get. So yeah, I hope I was able to open your eyes to just how useful a ton of these pets in this new update are. And I hope I was able to give you a little bit of motivation to start grinding this event and get a ton of these pets before it is too late, because a lot of these will hold a ton of value after this event is over. And I definitely do think that the Mallard could possibly get patched, because I don't think they intended for you to be able to get multiple sets of rewards from one Mallard every single half hour. As well as I think the Salmon might also get patched, because it is by far the fastest leveling pet in the game without using any bugs or like any super expensive mimics, making it really easy to not only max out your upgrades on your main account, but on any alt accounts that you have, and for just any brand new player to max out all their upgrades super fast. So it is possible they might also nerf those down as well, because when the Mutations came out and they were leveling up at half the speed that these are, they did still go ahead and nerf them. So I do think it is possible the Salmon could be nerfed. They go ahead and use the Mallard and the Salmon before they are possibly patched. Now, before I go, let's talk about Grow a Garden. Grow a Garden is dying. It is not dead. Obviously, 600,000 players is still a ton, but compared to the other big two games on Roblox, Grow a Garden is on a huge decline, while the other ones have been maintaining over a 1 million player base. Now, I wouldn't be super concerned if I didn't think that Jandel was giving up on the game. There doesn't seem to be any improvement with the updates and the testing. I mean, in the first part of this update, there was a game-breaking egg glitch, which somehow was in the game for an hour, and then in the part 2 of this update, they made us let all the new gears instantly restocked every time you did the tree, and left that in the game for 2 hours. So there's just a huge issue with the quality control and testing. But with Jandel's recent activity online, I'm getting huge Pet Sim 99 and Preston flashbacks. I mean, I'm getting scared considering how similar Jandel is acting to Preston. For example, on his Twitter, someone said, "Your game's dead," and his only response was a money symbol. I mean, that should kind of show you just where his head is at. And then on his new TikTok, he said that the game is not dying and that 600k players is a lot. Obviously, it's a lot, but the game is dying. He just doesn't seem to care or doesn't seem to realize it. I don't know which is which, and I don't know which is worse, but it's clear that Jandel is not really focused on fixing the game or responding to community feedback. He's actually been posting and responding a lot less over the last few weeks. So yeah, Grow Garden's on a decline, and the devs, especially Jandel, just doesn't seem to care. So I don't think the future for Grow Garden is looking too bright. The saving grace might be Halloween and Christmas, but even after that, I really don't see this game having a very long future without some significant changes being made to the mindset of the developers and the overall way this game has been updating, as well as the quality control. Anyways, now that I'm done venting, let me know your guys' opinions. But with all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, or just want to step in on all the best leaks, tips, tricks, and methods for Grow Garden, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I hope you all have an amazing day and good luck gardening.